Next on BYUSN, which BYU football players are flying under the radar and are ready to make a big impact this season? And do we want BYU to resume rivalries with Utah State, Boise State, or look elsewhere to fill future schedules?
Plus, former Cougar John Beck is with us. Talk Keaton Slovis, what he needs to do to get ready for Week 1. And cornerback Eddie Heckard gives us a look into how he prepares to be the leader of the defense this season. It's all coming up.
Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Today is Friday, August 11th. My name is Jason Shepard, alongside a man who, in honor of Mason Wake, when he entered the studio, decided to leap over our camera operator. He is Dave McCann.
And now I have 2 pulled hamstrings.
I was going to ask how the hammies
I'm
were
out
doing.
for the season. Mason announcing yesterday he's had some medical issues, and when you're hurt, football just isn't fun. And then it doesn't become worth it. And so he announced on Twitter that he's out, saying, quote, "What a ride it's been. With that being said, after many thoughts and prayers, I've decided to step away from football. I'm excited for what the future holds for me and for BYU football." So the leaper, the man who brought Chad Lewis back into style,
that's right,
is done as a BYU football player, and he'll be remembered as a fun-loving, hard-working guy who jumped over folks, and one of the coolest touchdowns we've seen in years he was a part of when they took on Houston a few years back. In fact, they borrowed the play from the Chiefs. Here it is right here. Zach Wilson, little flip.
Oh, yeah.
To Wake. He goes in the end zone, then he surprises everybody, pulls out a note for his mom who had passed away. And anyway, that moment right there will always be the Mason Wake moment.
Yeah, well, he will always be remembered for leaping, and he leaned into it. Like, when he wouldn't leap over somebody, I was like, whoa, what's that? He could have leaped over him, could have jumped over him. But we wish him nothing but success as he moves on. And as we move on, all rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. Time now for What's Trending, presented by Feastbox, donating 10% of every order to Full of Hope, a charitable organization that feeds hungry families.
Listen, I endorse the wings, the mashed potatoes, and the baked beans.
I believe it's bulgogi. I think that's like beef. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. Delicious. It's very good.
It's good.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I loved the wings. I'm like, hey, I'd totally order this.
All right, Anthony Miller is a writer for College Football Network, and he had Kingsley Suamataia as one of his 5 under-the-radar Big 12 players for 2023. Now, I'm not 100% sure how under the radar you are if you are a preseason All-Big 12 and a guaranteed first-round pick in the NFL draft.
On the radar, if that's the case.
But for the purpose of this show, it got us thinking about our under-the-radar players. So who is your top under-the-radar BYU football player for 2023?
I'm going with one of the most important players on the field, and it's not the quarterback. I'm talking about Aidan Robbins, the transfer from UNLV after the transfer from Louisville, where he earned his degree. I think he's under the radar because he's come from UNLV. Now, he had 1,000 yards last season for the Rebels, but it was in the Mountain West Conference. And so on the national scene, not a lot of guys know who Aidan Robbins is. But BYU is just thrilled with this guy. We were at practice the other day watching him run. He scored that touchdown, and just a beast. Connor Pay, the center, told Blaine and I after practice that this guy is a difference maker in short yardage situations. He said, as an offensive line, we don't have to plow a hole for this guy. We just have to make a crease. And he's there, and at 230 pounds and 6'3", he can move the
Well, BYU's issues with short yardage situations
wasn't good last year.
Probably not going to be an issue this year with him.
No, and here's a look at his numbers. I was talking to Jamal Willis earlier in the week. Now, he's number 4 all time in rushing. 6'3", 230. Aidan Robbins, 6'3", 230, as he's listed. And Jamal said he'd worked with Aidan in the summer, and he said if Aidan had 4 years, he would be the school's all-time leading rusher before he's done. He believes, Jamal Willis, that Robbins has everything it takes to be a game-changing running back who can also catch passes out of the backfield. And Willis caught 77 out of the backfield. He said that he had to learn how to catch because they were only going to hand off when Ty needed a break. So he made himself useful.
Yeah, the thing I really like about Aiden Robbins, it was one thing to look at his height and weight on paper, and you see highlights. But once fall camp started and you could actually get an opportunity to see him in action live, he's so much bigger and not just strength-wise, but taller than what I had imagined. So to be able to see what he's able to do and how strong he is and how powerful of a runner he is at his size, it got me even more excited about what's possible for him. And we're talking about under the radar.
His center's 6'5".
Yes.
He's 6'3".
Yeah.
Coming in right behind him.
He has not been under the radar for BYU for a long, long time. They were interested and thought they had a pretty good chance of getting him when he transferred from Louisville to UNLV.
Yeah.
So they have been on him for a while.
And they were also on him before he went to Louisville, right? So you're right. They've been he's known about BYU and been a BYU fan for a long time. So it means everything for him to have this opportunity. And one thing I love about Robbins is he has 2 years of eligibility.
Well, and that whole room, I think, is impressive because you have Hinckley Rapati and you have LJ Martin and Deion Smith, who is another guy that may be one of those guys that's an under-the-radar type situation, the guy that came in from Colorado. I like the pick of Aiden Robbins.
If Robbins goes to the NFL after this year or next year, then that'll be 4 running backs consistently that have gone in there. Then all BYU running backs will no longer be under the radar.
That's true.
Right?
True.
But I think he sneaks in, and I don't know if you know, the media around the Big 12 have given him some preseason accolades because of what he is capable of, what some of them have seen, but I think he's totally under the radar, and I'm looking forward to seeing him run against Sam Houston.
The guy that I went with is on the other side of the football, and local, certainly coaches and players know who this guy is, but I think nationally is where he's probably under the radar, and that is, you know, a guy like Eddie Heckard, who, by the way, you're going to actually hear from later in this show. Spencer Linton was able to talk with him the other day, so you'll hear that one-on-one with Eddie and Spencer coming up a little bit later on in the program. But this is one of those big transfer portal additions, especially on the defensive side, and you know that Jay Hill, who obviously was his head coach at Weber State, if he's bringing a guy like that in, it's because he knows what he can mean for that defense. And we've already seen he has immediately come in and been a leader on the field. And I was talking to somebody specifically about Eddie earlier in the week, and he's not a huge guy in terms of height. He's certainly built, he's strong, but he's not a real big guy. But the person I was talking to kept saying, while he doesn't have necessarily the size, he's always around the football, and he's one of those guys that just knows how to make a play on the ball, and it's all about angles and understanding where the play is going and how the play is developing. And he says that's why he's as good as he is. We're talking about a guy that was an All-American and was constantly Big Sky, you know, first team. This is a guy I think that by the end of the year, everybody's going to know who Eddie Heckard is.
I was talking to Gennaro Guilford, the corners coach, after practice, and he said that, and I said, how's Heckard? And he goes, you know, he's just awesome. His leadership is key, and he's got all the skills you just said. He goes, but the other guys watch him, and they want to be like him. And when you have a teammate, let's say, it's so different, I think, when you have a coach that was awesome, you want to be like, but when you have a teammate that you emulate and want to be like and play with, it seems to be so much more influential. And that's what Gennaro said, that what's going on with the DBs is that Heckard's presence and his leadership has been as valuable as Keaton Slovis's leadership on offense.
Well, and there's no ramp up for him. This is a system that he's aware of. This is a scheme he's played in. He knows what Jay Hill wants on that defensive side of the football. So day one, he came in and knew exactly not only where he needed to be, but where everybody else needed to be. And to be able to have somebody like that that's so intimately aware of this scheme, I just think that's huge. Who were some of the other guys that while maybe not the most underrated, that maybe fit into that category?
The new receivers, Keelan Marion and Darius Lassiter, they come in from UConn and from Eastern Michigan. They'd been hurt. Fesi Satake really loves these two guys. He thinks that they've got NFL potential, and that they got them out of the portal when everyone else missed on them. I think those guys qualify for being under the radar that I'm really excited to see.
Real quick before we move on to topic 2, Chase Roberts is one. People know who he is, but because of injuries, it's sort of kept him back a little bit. I actually am expecting a big year from Chase Roberts. I'm really excited to see what he can do as one of those wide receivers. The other guy, now I'm also sort of projecting here in terms of who will be the starting kicker, but I'm going to go with Will Ferrin.
Okay.
I like what we've seen, and I like what I've heard people talking about him. It's a guy that came from Boise State. Kelly Poppinga, obviously very familiar with him. Said that really the only reason he wasn't the starting kicker up there is because they had a guy already that was so good that it just wasn't his time. So again, I'm projecting that I would assume he's probably the guy that gets the job. Not obviously official or anything like that, but who I'm going to say Will Ferrell all the time, by the way. Will Ferrin, I think, may be one of those under the radar guys.
Hey, throw Jay Hill on that list, defensive coordinator. BYU's defense, which was not good last year, up in the hundreds on most of the categories. They bring that thing down 20, 30 spots. Yeah. That's a few more wins than what people think. All right, our second topic here on this Friday, with the Utes joining the Big 12 next season.
Oh, is that happening?
Yeah, it opens up the future non-conference games. BYU, I think, has 6 scheduled with them over the next 7 years. Would you like to see BYU fill that gap with rivalry games against Utah State, Boise State, or which direction do you want Tom Homo to go? Yeah,
this is an interesting topic because obviously, rivalries, it's something that people will always talk about. I mean, that's part of the history. And forever we were talking about, the rivalry with Utah. Now that's back on in the form that it used to be, moving forward. To me, I don't have an issue with it. To me, it's less about a certain scheduling, a way to schedule as opposed to who the schedule is. For me, moving forward, when you have 9 conference games, the only thing I want out of the non-conference schedule is 3 wins. I don't care who it is, but I want to go in and schedule 3 wins every year, the first 3 games of the season, whoever it is. Right. So that's my philosophy. To me, it's much less who BYU is playing. It's the type of team BYU is playing. Because at the end of the day, I just want to go into conference play every year 3-0. So for me, that's kind of how. So if that means, you can schedule teams like this year, Arkansas. Would I have put Arkansas on the schedule if we had had more time to know this was going to be non-conference before going into conference? I don't know.
No, you wouldn't.
You probably not.
No, but as an independent, you certainly would.
But as an independent, you absolutely do it. So for me, whatever it is, my goal would be to just schedule 3 wins so that you've got 3 wins out of the gate, and then you start conference play undefeated every year.
What I'd do is I'd call my friends down in Vegas, my UNLV friends, and I'd say, I would like to schedule 6 games with you. It's 3 up here, 3 at Allegiant Stadium, because it serves the huge BYU fan base down in Vegas to take a game there every year. You're not going to lose a home conference game by taking it to Vegas. Play UNLV. Yeah. Bring them up here, go down there. That's what I do.
Fit
I don't know if UNLV would want that, but I would want that, and I know everyone in Southern Nevada would love to have BYU in the stadium again, and they're not scheduled to play UNLV henceforth. This is an opportunity. Maybe you don't have to do all 6, but a home game here is also a home game there. And there's not too many places in the country you can book an opponent and know that you're going to be the home team, home and away.
Well, you look, as it pertains with Utah State, I don't know how it would work. I would assume Utah State would want to play BYU as many times as possible, but at this point, BYU's probably in the driver's seat. And I'm like, we'll play you.
There's no reason to go up there.
But all the games are going to be in Provo. Now, whether or not Utah signs off on that just to be able to play BYU, that's only something that the Aggies can answer. But yeah, BYU probably doesn't need to go to Utah State, Ippen to Logan anytime soon.
They don't, although my kids would love it, but they don't. And then we're assuming that these schools have openings.
It's true.
Most teams are booked out years in advance. I don't know who BYU is going to find for September 7th of next year, but they got to find somebody.
They got to find somebody because that game just got pushed to the end of the year.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Thanksgiving weekend is what we anticipate.
That's right.
As it should be.
Yeah, just like it always has been, right? Our question of the day is this. Who do you think is the most under-the-radar player for BYU. First answer coming in via Facebook from Jared Chase says Isaiah Glasker.
Good choice.
Get to know this name. He will become a staple on this Jay Hill defense. Also, Jordan Royal on X says Parker Kingston. Some of these receivers are under the radar, but I'm dying to see what Parker Kingston can do on kickoff returns, jet sweeps, go routes, special teams, gunner, etc. Let the kid run and use his speed. That's something else too.
Got speed.
This team's got speed. They've got speed all over the field, and it's on both sides of the football. I like the team speed. I'm really curious, especially on the defensive side, to see how Jay Hill schemes utilizing the speed.
Right, right. Braden Adams on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
He goes with Keelan Marion, and I think he says, I can see a world where by the end of the season he's one of our top 3 receivers. So can Fesi Sataki, who says Keelan has got a lot of Puka Nakua in him as far as what he does with the ball after he gets it. And we saw with Puka, if he needed 3 yards, he was getting 4.
Yeah.
And if the goal line's right here, no one was keeping him out of it, at the expense of his own body on occasion. Now we're watching him do it with the Rams. We're going to see him this weekend play in the NFL. But that's a great choice. Marion has a chance to be spectacular and a chance to actually go to the next level from what we hear from the coaches.
You know, the wide receiver position, I think I've mentioned it on this show before, even before the additions of Lassiter, guys like that, Marion, I thought BYU's wide receiver core was in pretty good shape already.
Yeah.
And then you bring in guys like this that just add to the athleticism, add to the depth, and just flat out give Kedon Slovis more options. I'm thoroughly thrilled to think about what could be possible through the air with what BYU has at quarterback, the offensive line to protect him, and the wide receivers that Kedon Slovis could throw to this year.
3 weeks from tomorrow.
There we go. All right, continue to weigh in using hashtag BYUSN on X, Facebook, and Instagram.
Hey, one of my favorite shows coming back next Tuesday with a brand new episode of After Further Review. Blaine Fowler, David Nixon, and myself. We start breaking down the key players who have an opportunity to be big impact guys for BYU. Guys like Hinckley Rapati and John Nelson and others. They're in the spotlight Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the BYU TV app.
Coming up next, BYU's 3rd all-time leading passer, John Beck, joins the show. Look, there he is. What are his expectations for Kedon Slovis this season, and what does he think of the recent Big 12 additions? This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is sponsored by Feastbox Global Grill, a unique dining experience featuring Texas, Hawaiian, and Korean meats. Time to feast.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
7 seasons, 6 bowl appearances, 4 bowl wins, 2 top 25 finishes. BYU's head coach, Kalani Sitake, the heart of Cougar Nation. Join the studio audience for BYU football with Kalani Sitake, Tuesdays at 6:30 during the season at BYU Broadcasting. Get a chance to pose questions or catch a post-show selfie with Coach. Sign up to attend at BYUSN.com. Now's your chance to feel the pulse of BYU football with Kalani Sitake.
The touchdown! And the Cougars score!
We're live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU sports play-by-play. He's Dave McCann. My name is Jason Shepard. Welcome back to the program. Happy to be welcoming in BYU legend John Beck. He's also the quarterback whisperer, and he's got a lot of things going on. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but he's joining us from his music room there at the compound there, right, John?
It's not me that's transitioning to a music career, just so everybody knows. This is my oldest son. My oldest son, he's amazing at music, loves it, and so this is his space. I'm just borrowing it for the interview.
Awesome. We need to get him up here to play for a pregame show, you know, when he gets his band together.
I know. I'm trying to get him to do the national anthem on his guitar for the San Clemente Tritons game, so I think that'd be awesome.
That would be
That
cool.
would be awesome. What's this time of year like for you? Does it get the competitive juices flowing now that we're getting closer and closer to college football?
I love football season. I love college football. I love that, especially for my family as well. It's like once I finish up with my NFL guys, I spend that last week and a half with the college guys before they start camp. And then it's like, come back home and it's just football every day. Because I got 3 kids playing tackle football right now. I help out at the high school as the quarterback coach, and I get to be around a bunch of former Cougars like Byron Rex, Matt Redden, Dennis Pitt is on the staff now. So that's a lot of fun. It's literally football in the mornings, football in the afternoons and evenings. It's talking to the college guys as they go through camp. I was just up at Dallas Cowboys camp in Oxnard yesterday with Dak. I'm communicating with my rookies. Like last night I was texting Jaron Hall after his game. I mean, it's football all day long, and I love it.
We're going to talk about Jaron in just a second. Outside of the BYU bubble here with practice, no one knows Kedon Slovis better than you, with the exception of his parents. What buzz are you getting from Kedon from how camp's going?
So far, so good. Kedon from day one has really enjoyed being at BYU. He's enjoyed his teammates. He's enjoyed the coaches. He's enjoyed the entire experience. But now that it's getting closer to fall camp, it's that that now it's like test time. Now, everything matters. And we have cool communication during the week of just kind of some of the plays that are happening at practice, how his body's feeling. It's been a cool experience for me to have that with all these quarterbacks recently. But I'm so excited for Kedon because I know what he's capable of. I have an awesome opportunity to be with him on the field. I was able to coach him at all of his spots. There at his last time during USC, through his time at Pitt, and now here at BYU. So I feel like I'm very familiar with all these phases that he's had to go through, the ups, the downs, the injuries, the coaching changes, the transfers, the new team, the acquisition of new teammates, the growing and getting accustomed to them to build chemistry. I'm just excited for it for now to all happen. And I think it's also good that, hey, he's going to get 2 games to start the year before he really jumps into that Arkansas and Big 12 rest of the schedule.
How has he evolved? Because you mentioned you've seen him at all different levels throughout his career. And look, he's in all likelihood going to be the 3rd straight quarterback drafted into the NFL out of BYU. What has been his evolution and how has his game evolved heading into this year?
Well, I think for Kedon, he burst onto the scene as a freshman, and he did it at a huge university at USC. So everybody's aware of him. And then expectations just skyrocket. He's an NFL caliber player, 100%. And if things go well and he can stay healthy, he'll absolutely be drafted. And I'm sure he'll have the invite again to the Senior Bowl. But for me, the thing is every quarterback always has things to learn. Whether you jump out on the scene and it looks like you're amazing from the get-go, or you have some struggles in the beginning and it looks like, man, is this guy going to make it? No matter which guy you are, like the path always has things you have to learn from, and then it always has the unexpected, the injuries, the coaching changes, the people that you thought you were going to have all season long that now all of a sudden you're playing without them. No matter who you are, a seasoned vet or a rookie, those things impact your ability to perform. And so I've watched Keaton basically what I call, it's the roller coaster of quarterbacking. When you enter the roller coaster, it's not like you get to look at it and say, hey, you know what? I think I can do that. I can see that twist. I can see that turn. I'm stepping on this roller coaster. I can handle it. No, it's a doorway that says QB roller coaster. You do not get to see what it looks like, and you step on it. And then, man, whatever twist and turn happen, you're on it, and you're trying to hold on. I'm just so happy that Keaton, he's healthy. He enjoys the situation he's in. There's a positive vibe. And then he's bringing all that experience to this new group of guys that are going to gel together. Having a guy like that is going to come to the table with tons of game experience, tons of life experience, it's going to help all those guys around him. And then it's the excitement of the Big 12. I think as a fan, as a former player, like everybody in Cougar Nation is excited for this new journey, this new step into the Big 12.
John Beck is on BYU Sports Nation with us here on this Friday. We were all excited to watch Jaron Hall last night, got the second half, played the whole second half for the Vikings. As I was watching that game, I remember what you talked about when you visited with us about your first experience in the NFL. Everything was so fast, and it was like a whirlwind, and it seemed like that was the experience for Jaron last night.
You know, I think every player, you get out there. I remember watching the number ones, or not, yeah, we had the ones go, I think, in the first game, a series or two. But I remember like seeing Jacksonville and just being like, you know, man, when I look on paper, you know, I've played against guys 6'6", 295 pounds. I've played against guys this big, but man, for some reason, when they're dressed in NFL jerseys now, they just look like a little bit bigger. And I've played against a lot of guys that ran 4.40s, and I know there ain't anybody, you know, running much faster than that, but somehow they look a little faster. And then I remember you get that first completion, and mine was on a little keeper play. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to get into rhythm right here. But it is like these things that just, even though you've ran a concept before in college, you're now running that concept in the NFL. And I'm not saying it's a huge difference, but in that moment, it's like you're doing it again for the first time because it's happening now at the NFL level. I think that's why reps are so important for these young players. Like, you just got to get so many reps. Because sometimes, I tell this to people all the time, sometimes the lesson that you learned in college, you learned the college version of it. And you have to relearn that lesson the NFL way, because the athleticism, because of the schemes, because of also the experience of the players. Like in college football, you do not play against guys that have played in 100+ games. In the NFL, when you're playing against ones, you are playing against guys that have over 100-something NFL starts with tons of experience. And that has an impact on things, and you have to learn throughout all that. So it was cool to see Jaron get his reps. I always know when I see young players play that first game, it's going to kind of be there's going to be kind of ups and downs. I love when I see him find completions, because I say, okay, cool. Let's get in that rhythm. Let's kind of get that confidence going. And then inevitably, there's going to be a few plays that he may be a little off accuracy-wise. He may be running for his life a little bit. He may have gotten through a read a little too fast, and then they're going to go back on tape, and then they go, okay, I can experience this. I can learn from this. All right, cool. I'll be more ready for that next game.
Speaking of reps, I was pretty surprised with the lack of reps that Zach Wilson was able to get in the Hall of Fame game. Now, granted, that's an additional preseason, so maybe the plan was once the actual preseason game started, it would be a little bit more, more available to him. But by all accounts, that situation seems to be heading in the right direction. Zach seems to be working through, being the backup and learning and trying to gain that experience. The other side of it, John, whether it was accurate or not, the perception was that Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, that there was just, they didn't get along. Again, I don't know if that's accurate or not, and there was always sort of maybe some animosity that way. It doesn't seem to be that between Aaron Rodgers and Zach. I think the way Aaron handles Zach is just as important as how Zach's handling the situation right now, too.
Yeah, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to take all the expectations that were there to be the number 2 pick of the draft and to be the guy that started since his rookie year, and you got to toss him out the window. And you just have to say, Zach is a third-year player in the NFL who's played in a number of starts. He has some experience, and now he's getting an opportunity to learn from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron and Zach connected years ago during Zach's rookie year, and they have stayed in contact throughout that entire time. And part of Aaron coming here I mean, sorry, not here. I say that sometimes because I'm acting like we're talking like I'm with the Jets. I'm not with them anymore. Aaron's deal with coming to the Jets was also partly because he knew Zach was there. He knew what Zach needed. And he's like, I feel like it's a great opportunity for me. And I also feel like it's a good opportunity for me to help somebody that I believe in as I exit the NFL, right? Aaron knows he's only got so many years left. And a lot of veteran quarterbacks, you see that this competitive thing changes in them. Early on, they want to step on everybody's throat. All right. That's just the way they're wired. Like they want to win, and they're not going to be the absolute best guy at all times out on the field or in the meeting room. Like they're not concerned about prepping some young guy. Like they are totally focused on competing and winning, and they're driven towards their goals. But then they start to go through this shift. And I think you see it with guys like in basketball, Kobe, LeBron. You start to hear about how much they talk about that thing with their teammates or bringing up a young guy, right? And they're wanting to share that knowledge. Like they don't want to exit the league having gathered all of this and not passed it on. And so I think Zach's in a cool situation because you have a Hall of Famer that's in that phase of his career where he's saying, I want to finish and I want to be able to know that I've passed some stuff on and I've helped a young guy that I believe in achieve his ability, like achieve his potential. And Zach's that guy. So Aaron has been amazing for him in sharing all that information. And Zach has always been a sponge. Since the day that, I met him and since he was at BYU, like the dude just tries to soak in everything he possibly can. And so it's a great situation because you have somebody wired like Zach and you have somebody with the experience of Aaron who's willing to share all of it. So I think it's a great situation. Zach will for sure play more in the upcoming preseason games. And like, who knows what's going to happen in the season? Who knows the type of success the Jets are going to have? I also want Zach to be able to, in one fashion or another, get some time during the regular season. Like if you look at guys that continue in the NFL and get to play a lot of years and in a lot of games, and you look at each season, they're finding a way to play in games. Whether it's as the starter or the backup, they're playing in games. Like one of my early coaches said this, you want to be a better starting quarterback? Be the starting quarterback. All the backup reps you can get in practice, I know that they're still beneficial, but if you want to know exactly what it's like to be the starter in practice and in games, you got to be the starter.
John Beck's with us. We're going to ask you about why they do it here in a minute. But first, BYU and Utah are now back in the same conference starting next year in the Big 12, which means that big game will now have things on the line that were on the line when you played in that big game. How are you happy that that rivalry is coming back in that fashion? What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, look, I actually did an interview with Ben Criddle probably like a week ago, and that came up about Utah coming into the Big 12. And I said, I think it would be really cool to have that game back. I think that game's meaningful to the players, meaningful to the state. It's meaningful like just to have that type of feeling in a game somewhere on your schedule. We all play in rivalry games in high school. Well, then you want to go and have a rivalry game in college, right? It just feels that way. It feels right. And there is a huge tradition that goes on there. And so I made the comment of, I think it would be cool if Utah came to the Big 12. And I remember Ben was like, oh, man, that's not how Cougar fans feel. We talked about it on air. I called him afterwards, and I was like, hey, did I say something that, like, Cougar Nation doesn't really agree with? Like, are there a lot of fans? And he just like, it is tough for a lot of BYU fans because Utah goes to the Pac-12, and they're like, hey, we're in the Pac-12. We're high and mighty. You guys aren't in a conference. And I know a lot of BYU fans wanted Utah to maybe get kind of left out there. That being said, I think it's going to be so cool to have the addition of that rivalry in the Big 12. The BYU-Utah rivalry is a great rivalry. And the thing that's going to be cool for the Big 12, too, is they've also added the rivalry that I grew up with, Arizona State.
Yeah.
Like, what a cool thing that this conference brings in these two rivalries that are going to be amazing. And who knows when that's going to land now? Who knows when that BYU-Utah game is going to hit? And who knows what's going to be on the line? You know, Utah right now has a great name. They've been to Rose Bowls, right? They've been successful. Like, they have a name that, like, everybody knows right now. And BYU, what a cool opportunity to step in and say, all right, now we're part of a game that not only is it the holy war between us and the state, but who knows what could be at stake in the Big 12 conference? What if this is a potential, you know, who goes to the conference championship game? Like, I just think that's awesome to have that in that conference now.
All right, John, as if being a husband and a father and a coach and a quarterback coach wasn't enough, you've added more to your plate. Tell us about why they do it. Okay,
so here's kind of how, like, the genesis of all of it. I've had a lot of people that while I'm watching BYU football games with them or after the game, they have a lot of questions, right? They want breakdowns. They want to know what's going on. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And as they learn the game, they're more intrigued. I have a good friend of mine that as we were discussing things one time on a vacation, I just kind of said, like I love breaking down games. I love when I get to share that information. I love always trying to learn, and I love helping others learn. And so I did a few sample videos of, hey, if I did a site, this is what it would look like. And I sent those sample videos to a few of my good friends that I know are just huge BYU football fans. And my friend also sent it to some family members and friends that were not maybe like, super knowledgeable in football. They don't consider themselves football people, but they absolutely love BYU football. They love the games. They love what's going on. And all the feedback, especially from the people that may not be considered football people, was so cool to know that that's what's happening in the game. I had no idea that that's what the quarterback is having to do. I had no idea the offensive line and the running backs were having all of that in protection. So it kind of enhances now their understanding of, whoa, that's really what's going on in the game. And for football people, right, now you kind of get this full picture, because even for me, when I'm watching the TV copy, sometimes you see the receivers, it's like they leave the field of vision, right? And you're trying to figure out, man, I didn't totally get a good picture on the shell of the coverage, but because of the blitz, I know they're probably here, but man, what are we getting on the back end? And so sometimes, I'll be honest, the tape that I want to see most of all is the all 22. It's the coach's tape, right? But not everybody gets an opportunity to see the game from that perspective and to have people talk through it. And I just feel like nowadays with content, and everybody's wanting content to either learn more, see more, hear more. And I thought, man, I'm kind of in a unique position just because of my relationship with BYU, the opportunities I've had to do things like this on Sports Nation, on different radio shows like the Wise Guys, the podcast with them. I've been in a unique situation to be able to kind of have like connection with the people that follow BYU football. And I thought, man, if I'm connected with these people that love BYU football, I can share something with them that's going to give them a greater insight to the games, and they'll learn more about the game. And here, I'm not going to be somebody that's critical of players. And maybe there's some people that say, well, man, that's not going to make your site what it could be because we want to know who's to blame. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'll never do that. But for the people that want to know, hey, man, what are these guys really executing in every single play, and get a thrill for that is awesome that's what's happening. That's what this site's going to be for.
Why they do it, and now we know how he's going to do it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you guys should check out. Look, I tried to throw up I don't know, I think there's like 6 or 7 sample videos of, look, this is what it will look like each game. I did some on a drive. I think there's like a 20-minute video of a Baylor drive. Like, this is what a full drive will look like. I think there's like a back view of a shot play. There's a couple other talking through some schemes. There's a defensive one where I'm talking through, like, here's what the defense is trying to do. And then there's a section called on the whiteboard where I get up. And really, it's the immersive experience of if you were sitting in the meeting room of an offensive coach going through tape with you, or going through the whiteboard, breaking things down, installing a play and talking through the schematics and the concept read. It's basically giving the fans that now. It's taking you and putting you in an offensive meeting room, being instructed and broken down by like an offensive coach.
And where can they find that, John?
Just whytheydoit.com. If you go on there, there'll be like a link for I think it's called sample videos, and you just scroll down and there'll be like breakdowns and whiteboard. You just click on it and there's a little library, and I'm going to add some more. I'm going to take some of the games of these of our Cougars in the NFL. I'm going to take a couple of Jaren's plays, break them down, a couple of Zach's plays, and break them down. And I have to watch stuff for other collegiate teams as well. And if I see some of the schemes that I know BYU runs being executed by another collegiate team, I'm going to say, look, here's this team executing the same thing, and maybe here's the little nuance, the little tweak of how they're doing it, but it's the same structure, it's the same concept that we used of beating these coverages.
Well, John, we appreciate it. Good luck with why they do it. Appreciate you coming on and talking some BYU football. It's always great to catch up with you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. This got me excited for the season, man. I see Blaine in his white BYU shirt. It feels like, you got the voices of the Cougars happening. It's football season. This is awesome.
Hey, John,
right.
You've had your hand on some huge, huge wins. Good luck with that project. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you.
Great, John Beck. Hey, join us tomorrow night. We got live soccer on BYUtv as the 13th ranked Cougars take on Idaho State. Final exhibition game of the season before it all starts for real. You can see the game 9 Eastern Time on BYUtv and on ESPN+.
Still to come, the NFL preseason has begun. Which former Cougar will you have your eyes on this weekend? This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Everyone loves going to the dentist, right? When was the last time you had your teeth cleaned? Heart disease, Alzheimer's, stroke, dementia, and other inflammatory health conditions can be linked to periodontitis, a severe stage of gum disease. To help fight against gum disease, have your teeth cleaned regularly by a dentist or hygienist. To review the science behind these findings, go to visityourdentist.org. Dental cleanings are essential for your health. This message is brought to you by the eAssist Dental Health Education Foundation.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day and the weekend on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. Is it totally not Twitter anymore?
No,
it seems like
Twitter
Twitter
is gone. It is completely gone.
But I got an X on my phone.
It is now X. Hey, and you can change the app icon too if you want to change it to a different color. Welcome back to Studio B. He's Dave. I'm Jason. Let's get to today's headlines.
BYU football training camp continues with practice today. Closed scrimmage tomorrow. Anytime you scrimmage in the fall, it's usually big, and you hope everyone survives. Other football news, as mentioned, Mason Wake announcing he's stepping away from the game, citing injuries, and we wish him the very best as he finishes his degree here after the fall semester.
We've talked about it a few times on the show already. Jaron Hall made his NFL debut last night in the Vikings preseason opener at the Seahawks. Hall played the entire second half and finished 6 of 14 for 37 yards. Kyrus Tonga also with Minnesota had 1 tackle and 1 QB hit.
Hey, how about you block for him? Block for him next time.
Yeah, the problem with Jaron being third-string quarterback is he's got the third-string offensive line.
I think those were the 8th-string offensive.
Yeah. Some other notable Cougars in the NFL this preseason. Tyler Algier and the Falcons will be taking on Chris Brooks and the Dolphins tonight.
Could see a lot of Brooks.
Yes, you could. Zach Wilson and the Jets facing Brady Christensen's Panthers on Saturday. Puka Nacua and the Rams hosting Michael Davis and the Chargers also on Saturday. And the game I will be paying the most attention to,
of course,
Matt Bushman and the Kansas City Chiefs visiting Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams, and the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. It's a good thing I've got 1:30 church on Sunday.
We're hearing some good things about Bushman. Women's soccer beat Rutgers 1-0 back east on an Ali Fryer goal in the 80th minute. That was an exhibition game, so they're coming back home, and they're going to get right back to business with another exhibition game tomorrow night at Southfield against Idaho State. Weather's going to be perfect. Watch it on BYUtv Live and on ESPN Plus at 9 Eastern.
BYU men's and women's cross-country schedule was released this morning. Some highlights include opening the season with BYU's Autumn Classic on September 8th. And the first Big 12 championship meet for BYU cross-country will be at Iowa State on October 28th. They're becoming real, Dave.
They're running to win the Big 12 this year.
They may run to Ames. They probably won't do that. Those are today's headlines. Now let's whip it. Cougar Whip Around is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
AP Top 25 makes its season debut on Monday. So how many teams do you think will be representing the Big 12 in the Top 25?
I think for sure 2. I think it's likely 3. So I'm thinking Texas, TCU, and Texas Tech. I think those are the 3 that end up in the top 25 for me.
I'd be surprised
sure
if Kansas State's not in there as the defending champ with a lot of guys back.
But they lose some big power hitters, and so that's